hello, this is Pixie doing another video. How are you? Hope you're well. I was thinking about fasting and food today. I was thinking also about astrology. I was looking at this, I was watching Santos Bonacci, and he was talking about some interesting things that got me thinking. And so I'll get more into the fasting in a sec. So plants, for example, are they affected by when they come into seed? Are they affected? I guess they're affected by the frequency, definitely. But it could also be if they are germinated under a certain star sign that they're affected behaviour for that plant. And I've got a plant and it's basically split off. And some of these signs are the mutable sign, it's like it can mutate. So this thing's got two heads. The plant has is, rather than it's straight and rigid, and you know, because that might be more of what they consider a fixed sign, if it grows in a kind of standard format. And also the time it grows, because you can have artificial lighting and also the temperatures in your property, so you can germinate things differently than they would normally. But they might not germinate at all due to the star signs. Some things may be quite strictly, they only have, they only get created at a certain time. But then again, thinking about the animal kingdom, there might be times when they have cubs and so on, but they only come at a certain time of the year, and so they may be affected and governed by the same astrological star signs. And the star signs are archetypes of conscious beings as well. It's like a network of consciousness that feeds off each other. Which brings me closer to where I'm going fasting. So if I'm born under a certain sign, now people will say, you're having a vegan diet, that's great, you know, this is what you should have. But it might not be for you, and it might not be for you because of the star sign. In the Hindu cultures, they, based on the star sign, it affects the deity they worship, which, you know, they say it's all one God, it's just kind of like the branches of it in these different formats, and that is it sort of divisions of self-awareness, consciousness, in order to actually, for something, in order to be unlimited, it needs to explore limitation, and that's where it's coming from for this sort of consciousness thing. I'd hate to think I'm just some manifestation of a god, and that I don't serve any other greater purpose, but I'm sure I do. It's just that we all want to believe that too. I'm not saying, you know, we're got this higher self, but it's so complicated. It's really something to deep meditation. You know, is your higher self a unit? I don't think it'd just be more of yourself. It could be you combined with another personality or another consciousness. Even you could be just like the subconscious part of a greater being. You know, or something else. You could be a minuscule part and a massive in something much more bigger. And these beings may belong to a family, which is where people go into these different areas, and like the reptilian mind and so on. So I guess there's stuff to do with kind of astrotheological genesis, I guess. Genics. Astrotheogenics, where it has a genetic impact on your astrological. So where I was going with diet, for example, I'm a Leo, and most of my brothers actually, yeah, quite a lot of so I've got at least two of my brothers are Leos as well. And this unity, because it's probably a part of this soul group, or connections with its frequency, but however, my other brothers outside of that, my other brother is something else, and my sister is, yeah, so got Taurus and Sagittarius, I think, my other brothers. So what's complicated maybe is the diet. Maybe I should mirror what I see in lions, or, you know, like, so fasting is quite natural for a lion. He's not going to eat all the time. He's not a grazer, but he also lives on a meat diet. In order to fast, he has to eat something of high nutritional value. He's not going to be eating something quite minuscule, because they're only getting by, but it won't necessarily keep him going for that long. And it's a part of the natural order. And somebody said, well, you know, vegans is the highest state, So that's like saying that grass feeders are at the highest evolution, or things like that, and we know that not really to be true. Otherwise I'd have meaningful conversations with cows and stuff, but you might find you can get more intelligence out of a dolphin who doesn't have, you know, there is no vegan option if you live in the sea. It's, well, little, there's seaweed around and other things, but there's a natural, basically, where does plants and animals cross over, and should we be seeing one higher and one lower than the other? And then we should forming judgments on these people because they're different. And you know, the animal kingdom shows us the way. So we may see ourselves as evolved beyond animals, the animal gods, but we still adhere to the laws of nature. And if nature puts meat on the menu, then it's an option. How we choose is that we try to be more ethical in our decisions. It's a bit like I wouldn't want to eat a particular plant if it meant decimating a big chunk of land to grow that particular plant. You know, like they go with things like coffee and other things, maybe tea, and where they've had in Africa yams, and they've made a big space of land to grow something that's worth more money to consumers outside of the country. I mean, that's unethical, and it also has an off. You know, you might think, well, I'm just only having this plant, but as a result, animals have suffered because their food source has been removed. Or pesticides, you know, you might, oh, we want these plants, but we don't want any sort of bugs and stuff. I think you just got to accept it with nature, what's there. But then equally, nobody goes out of the way to eat necessarily loads of meat, but you can have a big meat diet, but you want the fasting to reflect that. And then and also things like Aquarius, you know, some things in a diet, like would a Leo eat fish? Now some cats can eat fish, but I've also known some cats are allergic to certain foods. Vegetables shouldn't be necessarily in a diet. I mean, I know cats chew on grass and things, so we're putting things in the diet that will make them sick because they're not astrologically aligned with what they should be eating. And so that's really what I was thinking of what's most effective. So, like for example, Taurus, maybe dairy products are fine, and vegan, but there might be some foods they don't eat. So it's figuring out what's natural to that being. I know it's an archetype, but it also has a connection with that frequency. So the food, even though there might be similar foods we can eat, it still comes back to some sort of law or pattern of behaviour when it comes to eating and foods. And that's probably what I'm going to explore, because it also will affect weight loss. You know, you might be eating a vegan option and it might start putting on weight because it's not natural to whatever your spiritual thing is. You're not feeding your soul correctly. That's what it is. So it's very unusual. And the other thing I come across, maybe things like miscarriages, are to do with the time people have children in accordance with their astrology. So yeah, very interesting. Okay, anyway, this is Big to sign off for this one. Have a great one. Bye bye.